When I think about what Quentin has been through in his life, I get very emotional. When I think about that, there were times at the dinner table where he'd make comments about things that he had seen or things that had happened to him just matter-of-factly, and I would have to walk out of the room and cry. He told me once he didn't think his younger sister would have survived if he wasn't there. To me, that's difficult to hear from an 11-year-old. The first time I saw Quentin, he was in the yard next door playing with his sisters. My boys in the car were like, wow, there's a boy over there. But I was thinking, as a mom, none of those kids have coats on and it's the middle of January in the snow. But they immediately ran out there and started playing day one. And he was at our house almost every day after that. Even then, at 9 years old, he was already starting to join the family. His birth mom had taken them out of state after we had gotten to know him and really connected with him. And when we heard what happened and that he was in care and he was in a group home and moving into another placement, I felt immediately I needed to go find him and figure out, is he okay? Because we just couldn't turn our backs on him.
He was in 4th grade when I first met him, and it became clear at that point that he was working at probably a 1st grade level, and realized that by 4th grade he had been in 11 different schools.
It was really disheartening to hear the abuse, the different schools that he had been to, the different foster homes, never staying in one place long enough to really make a true friend.
As the case went on, we lost a lot of hope in finding any good placement for him. And problems had developed in some of the foster homes that they were in, and it began to look pretty dim. The first time I met anybody in the Burry family was Jennifer, and she was in town on business, and we went to dinner, and we're just getting to know each other, and I was immediately taken with her, and I could see she was full of love and care, and I felt at that time she would be a perfect person to keep Quentin and to develop him through the years.
Integrating Quentin into our house, when he got to us, he was so skinny that we just let him eat as much junk as he wanted. The second thing that we worked on was his self-esteem. The process of building that up was a long process, and I'm glad to say that he's really come a long way in that department.
He needed a lot of extra attention in school. He couldn't read a menu at that time, and he was 11, so we were starting over with the reading, just teaching him how to do some of the things that you take for granted. The knife and fork at the table. I remember the moment I noticed it, that, wow, this is him. He never had someone that taught him that this is what you do with spaghetti and a knife and fork. And for me, that was a very strong emotional day, because it drove home for me how bleak it must have been. Trudy became an anchor for our family as we integrated through all of these issues that would arise. And she would actually say, there's gonna be things coming up here that you need to be ready for, and you might start seeing this. And I remember thinking like, oh, we're fine. And then it would start happening, and I'm like, wow, she was right. And then I would call her and say, okay, what do I do?
She would basically hold our hand with all of the things from finding counselors to getting help at school to how to handle different mood swings or any other issues that we needed help with.
After I met Jen, I was pretty convinced they were the right place for Quentin. But when I went up on a visit and saw him interacting with Todd and the boys, they had a playhouse that Todd had built. They had a zip line going to the playhouse. They had chickens. They had everything that Quentin loved to do. And I could see as a family they were a perfect fit.
I remember my adoption day was a very happy day. We woke up into the morning and I came out with balloons all over the place. We had a lot of family here, friends, and we sat down and got on a Zoom with the judge, and Trudy was on, my teachers were, friends and family, and when he said I was adopted, I was finally a Burry, and I was really happy.
It was during COVID, so we were struggling to get all the paperwork done, and to finally get to that day, it was absolutely amazing, and we were just so overwhelmed with happiness. I was crying, Quentin was crying, my husband was crying. When I think of that moment when the judge said, we're the Burry family, you know, he is now Quentin Burry, I can't even describe the feeling.
When I came into this case early on, he asked me when I was going to find his forever family, and we did that day.
We thought we had this nice little family unit, everything's going great, but now looking back on that, we were not whole without Quentin.
I don't have to worry about where I'm gonna live. I don't have to worry about feeding my sisters, about me being hungry. I don't have to worry about not being able to play the sports that I want to play, and it's just a blessing to be here.
When I hear him talk about going to college and what he wants his future to look like, and that he's talking about his future, you know, that's what I wanted. That's what I want for him.
I think Quentin's got a bright future. When he came to us, he could barely read. Now he's on the honor roll. And he's grown in leaps and bounds, so I don't think there's any limitations to his dreams or goals. I'm pretty confident that whatever he wants to do, he will be successful at.
Quentin's life has been transformed totally. He has a bright future where there was none before. He has people who care about him, who will protect him and keep him safe.
The support that Child Advocates of Fort Bend provides to children in care, in foster care, in these, situations is vitally important. Through this organization, we were able to navigate the process with our advocates' help. And I don't know if it would have been as successful. I don't know if we could have gotten through all of this, through COVID, trying to adopt, trying to work through everything we had to deal with without Trudy and this organization. Thank you.